Hello guys, my name is Mr. Mrrboss and welcome back to my series, my C++ series. So in this video, I'm going to be continuing with functions. However, this time around, I'm going to be talking about functions which consist of parameters. And instead of previously when I wrote my functions above, the int main, this time around I'm going to be writing my functions below the int main. So like I said in the previous video, there are two ways in which you can write functions. You can write them above the int main or you can write them below the int main. It all depends on you. However, at the end of the day, you have to find something that you find easier and much more interesting to you, and then you just need to follow that, stick to it, and use that in your practicing and stuff like that. And eventually, trust me, everything is just going to be like a knife cutting butter. All right, so moving on back to functions. So first thing first, I'm going to create my function, which consists of my parameters right below the int main. So to create a function, if you want to understand the basics of creating a function, then you can go and watch my previous video on the introduction of functions. And trust me, you will understand everything. If you don't understand, visit the comment section. If there's nothing related to your question in the comment section, you can simply leave a question in the comment section. And personally, I'm going to attend to it and I'm going to try to help you out. So let me just create my function. I'm going to make it an integer in, let's say, in addition this time. And addition, and then of course I'm going to put my parenthesis, and then inside my parenthesis I'm basically going to include my parameters. All right, so I'm going to say int x, int y, right? I'm going to say int x and int y, and then I'm going to have my curly braces over here. And then inside my curly braces, that's where I'm going to have my statements, which is basically the task that our function is supposed to perform. So in this case, I'm just going to say answer. I'm going to say int answer equals to x plus y, right? And then I'm going to say cout answer, and then let me just say end line, and then afterwards I'm just gonna say return answer, right? So this is basically my function, complete function. So that's the advantage of using parameters, because your function becomes shorter, it becomes much more easier, and everything is easier to understand when it's written like this. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm just gonna go to my int main, and then I'm gonna call my function. Remember what I said about writing a function and then calling it. So in this case, I'm gonna call my function. The way I called it in the previous video is just the same, nothing is different. So I'm gonna say addition, right? Addition, and then inside my parentheses, I don't have to write int x and int y. I basically need to write the value of x and the value of y that I want my function to add. So in this case, I'm gonna say 5 and 6. So we know that in this case, our answer should be 11, right? So yeah, later on, we're gonna find out if our answer is gonna be 11, and then from there, I'm gonna put semicolon. So if I do run this code, it's going to give me an error. And the reason why it's going to give me an error is, okay, let me run it first and then I'll explain why. All right, so it's saying that error expected, right? Open bracket before the semicolon. Oh, okay, I see a problem, guys. I see a problem. It's supposed to be a comma here. I'm really sorry. It's supposed to be a comma there. So if I do run, remember, debugging is part of the process. So it's saying that addition was not declared in this scope. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, fine. Why is it not outputting the right answer? And that is because we actually called our function, but the position in which our function is does not allow C++ to find it. All right, so in this case, our code is perfectly fine. Everything is good. However, it's saying that addition is not declared in our scope because when C++ was running, it went to hash include IOStream, cool, everything is fine. We see that using namespace std, cool, we see that. And then it went to int main, and then it saw addition. Then it's like, what? Where does addition come in? Where did addition come from? It's not in my scope. Meaning that what we need to do is, even though addition has been declared under the int main, it does not jump int main and then go to addition and then say, okay, fine, there's addition somewhere. No, it needs to see addition before it goes to int main. So what we're going to do is we're just going to basically take our function as is, but without the okay, excuse me. We're going to take our function as is. Let me just copy. And then we're going to paste it above the int main like that. And then just add a semicolon over there. So what basically happens here is our code is going to run. It's going to go to hash include our stream. Cool, no problem. I see that. That is perfectly fine. It's going to go to using namespace std. That's perfectly fine. And then it's going to go to this line over here where it says line number 5, where it says int addition with the parenthesis. Then it's gonna be like, oh, okay. So there's a function that is called addition. So somewhere in my code, I basically need to find the function that is called addition before I go to int main. And then once it finds the function that is called addition, it's going to say, okay, fine. Since I found this function, I'm going to basically read whatever it's saying, and then I'm going to go to my int main and apply whatever it's saying must do. And then from there, it's going to output what we want it to output. So let me just run this and let's see if it's going to run perfectly fine. All right, let's just give it a little bit of time. All right, so I think you can see that it says that the answer is 11. And indeed, if you add 5 and 6, you're going to get 11. If you don't understand mathematics, by all means, you should just take a calculator and add it in case you have big numbers that you're dealing with. However, if you're dealing with small numbers, like for instance, 5 and 6, 5 plus 6 is just 11. So basically, this is what happened. Our code ran, our program was running, it went to hash include, it went to using namespace std, and then it went to int addition with the parameters. And then from there, it was like, okay, cool, I see that. Now let me go somewhere in my code. I know there's a function that is called addition, and then it looked at this and then saw, okay, fine, there's a function that is called addition with certain parameters, and this function is supposed to basically perform addition. So what is it going to do? It's going to go back and then say, okay, fine. Now let me go to my int main, and then it's going to say, oh, addition with the parameters 5 and 6. Okay, cool. So what does that mean? It means that in the place of x and in the place of y, which are my parameters, I'm going to place the 5 and 6, of which 5 represent the int x, and then 6 represent the int y. And then from there, what it did is this, it added 5 plus 6, and then we got our answer to be 11. So guys, this is how you write functions with parameters, and also this is how you write functions outside and below the int main. Like for instance, what you can see, it is below. However, we had to include the name, the data type, and the name of the function above the int main so that our program can know exactly what is going on. So if you feel like writing your functions above the int main is much easier, by all means follow that strategy. However, if you feel like writing your functions below the int main is a much more neat and easier way of writing functions. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you guys. And this is how you write functions with parameters. This is how you write functions below the int main. And this is also how you can make everything work out. Whichever method you go for, it's up to you. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys' support. I really appreciate you guys staying with me until the end. And hopefully you'll understand what I was basically explaining to you. If you don't understand it, just revisit this video and try to grasp everything. If you feel like you still don't understand, you can leave a comment in the comment section below, which is basically the questions that you might have. And personally, I'm going to attend them and I'm going to try to explain everything to you. Anyway, in the next video, guys, I'm going to be going through functions that use multiple parameters. So you must be thinking, why are you having a lot of videos of functions? Well, it's because functions are very important, guys. So I'm gonna go through functions with multiple parameters, and then yeah, hopefully you guys are gonna understand everything about functions by then, and also hopefully you manage to use them in your day-to-day coding or programming life.